Well, g'day guys. This video certainly isn't the one I had planned to make when we set out on our last family holiday, but sometimes shit just happens and I think it's a story worth sharing. So grab yourself a drink and I'll tell the story as best I can. I know, we're just about to make our way down onto the beach. We've made it into this little swampy country here. We're just going to use these little tyre deflators, knock a bit of air out of the tyres, and we'll push through this track all the way into the beach. Bloody magic spot, mate. So you screw the tyre deflator on, preset to 18 psi. It's that easy. This place is without a doubt our favourite off-grid camping spot. It's remote, it's untouched, it's got beautiful beaches, amazing creeks, incredible fishing and crabbing, freshwater swimming holes, four-wheel driving, plenty of wildlife. The absolute perfect spot for a Horo Buds adventure. Terrible spot. Time for one of these, I think. Cheers, boys. At this stage, we're just starting to really relax and unwind, having my first beer, camp's all set up, and we're really excited about what's to come over the next 4 days. But we were completely unaware that over the next half an hour, this trip was going to turn to absolute shit. I think it was about 5 o'clock in the afternoon when I checked the time of that footage, and by 5:30 we were on the beach searching for Buddy, and we just couldn't find him anywhere. At first we thought he'd just gone for a stroll down on the beach, and which he often does, for a bit of a swim or a bit of a look around. But when we got down on the beach, we looked both ways and he wasn't there. But you know, I wasn't too worried at that point because it's not unlike him to just go for a bit of a wander. But he's normally never gone for more than 5 or 10 minutes, and he finds his way back into camp. When we come back up into camp and he wasn't there, we decided we'd just split into two. Jamie and Huds went one way and I went the other way, and we walked as far as we could, obviously yelling out for him. Normally he'd just come straight back to us, but no sign of him either side of camp. So I thought I'd send the drone up, but as I said, by this stage we were losing light, and it was really hard to pick up anything on the drone, to be honest. So we went down onto the beach and we drove up as far as we could up to the north. And he was nowhere to be seen, there was no tracks in the sand. And by the time we got back to camp, the tide was making pretty quick, so we didn't drive any further to the south, but we decided to just drive back along the track, pretty much back out to the station, along the track in, just sort of yelling out the window and just going steady with the lights, and again we couldn't pick him up. So by this stage it was about 10:30 at night, and we'd pretty much given up hope of finding him by searching that night. So we thought we'd just get back to camp, get settled in, get a fire going, leave some of our clothes out on the clothesline so that if he did pick up our scent, he'd know where we were. He might smell the fire, the smoke from the fire, and hopefully just find his own way back overnight. Buddy's been part of our family for over 13 years. Jamie and I got him before we had Huds, a couple of years before we had Huds, and he's always been a special part of our family. Doogie, the other little fella that we've got, that's actually Buddy's son, so it's a real little family affair, and they're a real special part of our family. And as much as we can, whenever we go camping, we do like to camp in off-grid sort of places where we can't annoy other people. We know there's a lot of places you can't take your dogs, but we like to have them with us, so we try to avoid those sort of places, and as much as we can get to places where we can take Buddy and Doogie along, because they are very adventurous little dogs. Particularly Buddy. Buddy loves the beach, he loves the bush. He's been on so many bush adventures over the 13 years that we've had him, and for him to just vanish like that absolutely blew our mind. So the next morning, I was up at sunrise, obviously. Was pretty keen to get out and start looking again for the little fella. It's sheoak trees, it's rubber vine, it's a little shrubby sort of area, a bit of high grass. So there's lots of places that he could have been. But I thought if he heard us and he saw us that he'd obviously come to us. Heading back inland, it sort of becomes really thick sort of scrub, and then into a swampy, marshy sort of an area. I know there's dingoes there, I know there's pigs there, and by this stage, you know, it's getting late in the afternoon on the second day, and I'm really starting to get concerned for Buddy's safety. He's 13 years old. His eyesight's failing. His hearing's failing. He's just not the dog he used to be, but at the same time, he is a smart little bugger. He's a tough little bugger. I'm hoping and I'm praying that he's going to show up, but you know, deep down inside, I've got a real sort of sick feeling in my guts that something bad's happened. I knew Larry, the station manager, was coming home the next day, so I'd already messaged him and asked if I could use his four-wheeler so that I could get up in behind the dunes and cover a lot more ground. Just no luck, no trace, but we're not giving up on him. We sort of have to get back because it's the end of the school holidays. Huds has got to go back to school. Just the thought of knowing that we were leaving and that potentially we'd have to be leaving without him was really starting to weigh heavily on all of us. So we did a last desperate attempt to find him, did everything we could, but eventually we just got to a point where we had to pack up and get home. I know he's only a dog, but at the end of the day, he's part of the family, and leaving him there that day was tough, really tough. So we got home late that afternoon. I had planned to head straight back down, but to be honest, I was tired, hadn't slept for 3 nights. I just thought we'd spend the Saturday night together at home and regroup. So Sunday morning comes around and I get a phone call. And it's Uncle Ningy, my brother, and he says, "Mate, Buddy's gone missing. What's going on?" It just gave me that little extra kick that I needed to get back down there and get searching again. So we're heading along the highway with Uncle Ning's trailer and buggy on the back, and we're getting pretty close to the turn off the highway to start heading in towards the coast, and my phone rings, and it's Jamie, and she's blubbering and she's trying to speak and catch her breath at the same time. And the only real sense I could make of what she was trying to say was, they found him. And she said, they found him. Let me catch my breath. A man and a lady have found him.
Here is Buddy. This is the dog. We were sitting having a little bit, like we said, a snack anyway. We had his number on his collar. So we've rung his owners and they're over the moon. He's been gone for 3 or 4 days. He's been gone. They were camping. They've been out looking for him all the time. So we've got to keep walking back the way we came so we can get across the river before the tide gets too high. But they're going to be coming back behind us on a buggy. So this is where we've got to go, all the way down there.
It's so isolated. You go there and you never see another footprint. You never see a four-wheeler track, you never see a buggy track unless they're your own. 4 nights after Buddy's gone missing, and we've searched for 4 days straight, he shows up, he walks out of the sand dunes straight in front of this couple. When we finally caught up with David and Lorraine on the beach, I can't even remember what I said to them, but I know it would have seemed rude. So David and Lorraine, I'm really sorry. I ran straight over to Buddy and I just laid on the sand with him and I hugged him. But I really didn't get much time to thank them properly and to have a good talk to them. Bud was obviously fairly dehydrated. He'd been 4 nights and 5 days away from us in the wild, so I really wanted to get him back to the vet. And then, you know, hoping that we'd organise a catch up with David and Lorraine once Buddy was well and we're back on deck and we could go and thank them properly.
Look at you, you're so nice and soft now. You're all clean. Yeah, and your ears all better. Yep. Happy little Vegemite.
Remember these guys, bud? Yeah, they saved your life, mate. They saved your life. Yeah.
It all worked out really well in the end, but yeah, for a while there we didn't know what we were going to do. But the seagull was the one that was going to get him for sure.
Yeah, he was starting to circle.
He was circling round and round, buddy. Yeah.
It was lucky you showed up when you did.
Yeah, it was just a fluke. No one goes walking on that beach, and that's the first time we have this year. We've been here for months. We, at least once a year we do walk there, just looking at all the stuff that's washed up, you know, and things like that. Through the mangroves just there, that little passage through those mangroves, and walk right over, straight across to the side. When we get across there onto the beach, or not the beach, it's the side of the river, the mouth will be another 500, 600 metres along, and then we will start to walk up the beach.
Bloody incredible, eh? But just to get there was a bit of a mission.
Yeah, it is.
We were just the right place at the right time for him.
I think everything came together. It was lucky that we walked that day, lucky that we'd sat in that spot in that time for Buddy to come over the sand dune, and so it was everything was in line for saving him, I think.
Wasn't his time yet, that's for sure.
Unbelievable. Well, I think he's the luckiest dog in the world to have bumped into you guys, that's for sure.
Well, I'm so glad we were there.